Hello YouTube, it's me again. A little quick notification update. My main video has actually now got a recording date. It's the 27th or the 28th of December, so that's when my friend Reagan can come down and give us her opinion on the social classes of golf, which I'm really excited to do. Also, just for to let you know, sorry about the facial hand and kind of new romantic-y type of look. I didn't plan to make a video so soon and so quick to this event, but I thought it had to be addressed. But also, I thought I'd keep you a little bit entertained with a couple of tracks from my band The Kilbrides, Hiroshima Shadows, My Old Scene, and The Connection. I know that it's not everyone's taste, because I've noticed a couple of you have unsubscribed. Sorry you don't like music. Well, actually no, I'm not sorry, that's personal opinion. But just thought I'd keep you entertained for a little bit whilst I come up with something new for the time being. But this did come and cross my path, which I really wanted to cover. This might seem controversial because I don't know if I'm the first YouTuber to actually talk about this issue. I won't say it's an issue, but I must stress this highly. This isn't a shame video. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. This is my reaction to Peter Murphy's incident in Sweden, which happened 2-3 days ago from this recording, and I just wanted to talk about my experience with Peter Murphy, because as many of you follow my Instagram and Facebook, you'd know that I went to see Peter Murphy and David J on their 40-year Ruby anniversary tour in Manchester on the 4th of December with MGT. And this is my second time seeing Peter Murphy. I met him 5 years ago now on the 35 Years of Bauhaus tour back in 2013 in Birmingham, and I think I've mentioned this before in the videos. When I met him, he was such a lovely person, because when I spoke to him, met up with him, coincidentally he was going down the road to the venue. He was walking down with his wife, and no, he was really down to earth. He was very lovely. He actually came and put his arm around me and was asking about my name, and he loved the way how I dressed back then, which looking back now is quite cringing worthy. So I'll show you what I mean by this. Yeah, I think he was just trying to be a little bit nice there, but overall it was a very nice and heartfelt moment, especially for someone who idolised Peter Murphy and Bauhaus in particular growing up. So the year before that, I also met David J when he did his acoustic show at the Ballroom in Birmingham, when he had Joe Black supporting him and he was doing acoustic stuff with Love and Rockets, Bauhaus and his solo stuff. And I get that David J is a very quiet and reserved character in real life, because when I met him 6 years ago and asked for an autograph, he was reluctant to, because he said he had a cold and he didn't want anyone to get infected, but half the time he was still wandering around and basically avoiding people in general. But that didn't change when I went to Manchester, because as I got to the venue, he was walking out and said hello to him, and he, oh bless him, and in a way he was kind of like cute, but in the shy way, where he just kind of wrapped himself up. He was like, and I was like, oh, you're so precious. And so I thought, okay, I can pardon that, and I didn't want to bother Peter Murphy when I saw him, because he was walking into his tour bus. And that gig itself was a very good gig. I remember I queued up a little bit, which it was worth the wait. It's nearly kind of called golf hypothermia there, but no, it was a really good show actually, and I can't remember the last time I had so much fun at a show. And the funny thing about that gig was, I kept saying this to my brother as well, never go in front of a fucking, be the first for a gig, because there's always going to be the very high chance that you're going to be crushed at the front, or the mosh pit is going to push you forward over to the rail and you're going to be uncomfortable. I didn't take my own advice basically, and I was too excited. I was right at the front by Peter Murphy, and it was like a magical moment, looking up at him with his big, magnificent beard and his receding hairline and his majestic, croaky voice. And no, it was so good. I mean, when Stigma Mater came on, because they played the in the Flatfields album, which was supposed to be in its entirety, but they cut half of it off. Don't know if it was because of curfew reasons or not, but it was still a magnificent performance. I really genuinely love that show, which was surprising because during that Manchester show, I spoke to a friend of mine from Sweden, and because she was going to the Peter Murphy show in Sweden, I was saying, oh, it was such a great time, and it was so fucking amazing. Yeah, I was bruised a bit being at the front, but it was so great. Also, shout out for those who have I met at the Manchester gigs. I was really surprised how many people recognised me from my YouTube channel. I had a fair few people come up to me saying they recognised me from the YouTube channel. They took photos of me, and oh, really mind blown. I just want to put that out there. Thank you so much for everyone who I met in Manchester. It was lovely meeting you all as well, and I hope to meet many more of you along the way. Back to the story, sorry. Yeah, it's a case of when my friend went to the Sweden show, she messaged me and what was happening, and she was telling me that, oh, this had been going wrong. There was the gig's cut early. Peter Murphy walked off stage. I was thinking, oh, okay, that doesn't sound like him from my recollections of meeting and seeing Peter Murphy. He was always quite level-headed and quite calm. But then obviously she later, about 10 minutes later, said that she went out for a cigarette and he got floored. He was arrested. So obviously when this broke out the next day, it was quite a lot to read, actually. I mean, I picked up a couple of examples from reading it. One is from the NME, which basically, it goes down to say that obviously he was throwing bottles at the sound desk, he was throwing it at the audience. There was one casualty where a fan had to be rushed into hospital because a glass bottle hit him straight in the face, kick in the eye. I know, very bad pun. I shouldn't be making these right now. And basically saying that how he behaved overall to the staff and everything was unacceptable, and that he was detained by security. Which is NME, which was I find quite a reliable source, especially for music journalism, because it covers all different traits, it covers all different genres of music as far as the indie and alternative scene goes, and it's quite accurate to what I was told. Pitchfork website did go and emphasise the fact that when I spoke to MGT, the guitarist of the tour, he did mention that there was no actual arrests. He said that everyone is fine, Peter Murphy was just drunk, he was detained by security staff and was put in his taxi to go back to the hotel. So in hindsight, it's not as bad as it sounds, but however, I do want to clarify this really bad, because at the moment, it seems that the whole goth community are on two different sides. They're either defending Peter Murphy's actions by saying that, oh, he was on tour, he was a bit drunk, he had some mental health issues. Then you have the other side which say, no, this is unacceptable, this isn't the first time he has done this, etc, etc, etc. What they mean by that, the first time he's done this, excluding what he would have been like in the 80s or early 90s with his performances, because obviously I was too young or not even born then to really comment on or take any actual information from this. I'm referring back to something that he did 2 years ago in Boston in 2016, where apparently he was having a go at one of the bouncers or security guards because he was eating a meat sandwich or something like that, and because Peter Murphy is a strict vegetarian, he didn't like that, and he basically said that he wants this guy off because he felt uncomfortable or whatever. I don't know if the security guard was doing this deliberately to piss off Peter Murphy, I'm not too sure, probably unlikely, but I'm taking all things into consideration here. And the controversy came because apparently Peter Murphy slurred something along the lines to the security guard, said, oh, you were giving me the rap look because that person was of colour. Now, I don't know how true that is, I don't necessarily know. I read into this a little bit because just to justify the reason that Peter Murphy has done stuff like this before, and saying that it shouldn't be acceptable no matter what situation you are in. As far as the other hand, when they talk about him being drunk or having mental health issues, as far as I'm aware, I don't know about Peter Murphy's mental health personally because I've never really spoken to the guy about it. I've only met him once, and it was generally a nice conversation. I don't tend to really look into that type of stuff, especially when people don't really discuss it as much, so I can't comment on Peter Murphy's health in that reason. I know he was arrested for possession of methamphetamines back in 2015, I think it was, or 2016, one of those two, and it doesn't surprise me that he had a few to drink. And I understand that tours can be very stressful, especially ones that have been stretching from the late October, early November until the end of December, especially with him having his North American tour, which is kicking off next year. I can sympathise as being a musician who has tours that it can be stressful, it can be tiring, it can put a lot of pressure, especially when you have such a long and devoting fan base, especially with a bassist who you've decided to join with, and that's going to bring a lot of pressure, a lot of the sold out shows. However, as much as people tend to drink a little bit more or get a little bit more anxious during these type of tours, it still doesn't give the excuse for the attitude and overall behaviour of Peter Murphy, because according to other statistics, he was also late for his own show. He was breaking like the lamps on the stage. Apparently he was telling people who were going to the bar that they need to go home. He wasn't impressed with how enthusiastic the crowd was, apparently. But also the case of that he was throwing bottles at everyone and landed on the sound guy, and Peter Murphy's own technician cut him off on that one. And unfortunately, there is the video to kind of see the mess he was in. You can clearly see he was quite inebriated, that he was being quite vulgar with his words as well. He was being quite rude and offensive, as most people who are drunk do. But it's just that moment when you know that he's about to hit his head on the pavement from the floor. It's not going to go pretty. And I'll put a little bit in now because I don't want to be taken down for any copyright reasons or whatever it might be. But I will put the original link down below so you can see. But it's just, oh, you have to see this.
Fuck you fucking Swedish cunt! Peter! Calm it down, mate! Fucking touch me! Peter!
But as I said this at the beginning, this is not a shaming video in any means. I don't want anyone to come after me and thinking that I'm attacking Peter Murphy. As I said, he is one of my idols. Bauhaus are one of my favourite bands of all time. I've stressed this many times in my videos. I have the most upright respect for Bauhaus, but I also will have to say, coming from a touring background as well, that yes, I can understand that it can be difficult. I understand that tours can do a lot of pressure, but it still doesn't excuse the fact that someone should be so rude and disheartening to their fan base. But now that he's actually banned from the venue, according to one source, and it's just an awful thing, because it's not just the Swedish goth community which are going to be left with a new taste in their mouth from that event, but also from the social media interaction. As I said, for those who are supporting Peter Murphy, saying that you are human, you do mess up, that is completely fine, because humans do mess up, and I understand that everyone goes through a very, very rough path, no matter what age you are. You might have a very shit show, and you can all fuck up. But at the same time, I'm also on the side of the people who say that in the end, the behaviour wasn't acceptable. Yes, what he did was wrong in that way, but at the same time, hopefully he will learn from his mistakes. And as I said, this isn't me choosing sides, this is me just covering it and my viewpoint on it, because I understand normal musicians do have a lot of pressure on. He must have been drinking, because it was getting up to him. Bear in mind, it was only the third to last show from the actual tour. He's been touring for a while. But as I said, I can't comment on his mental health because I don't know anything about his mental health to comment on, but that could play a part. If you hear anything new about that, please let me know, because I want to have a clear depiction of this. But overall, and when I saw him, he put a hell of a good show, and he was so professional about it compared to that chaos that happened in Sweden. And it's just one of those where I'm disappointed, but at the same time I'm not surprised as much as I thought. But hopefully that Peter Murphy will realise what he's done and people will forgive him for the mess he made himself in. And Peter, if you're watching this, then I really hope that you get better. I hope that the rest of the tour goes well. But I hope that things can resolve as they should. Anyhow, I'm sorry it's a little bit late because I wanted to get this covered and I'm a little bit busy, but I thought I'd just throw that in there. I'll try to upload another video before the 28th or 27th because I really want to get this video done and I'm excited. So hopefully you'll enjoy this video. As I said, give a comment, drop a like, subscribe if you wish, and I'll see you all very soon. Bye!